This time I want to remind everyone we are still in open session. We called our meeting to order at 6 p.m. this evening. At this time, I'm going to ask Trustee Judd McCutcheon to lead us in our invocation, followed by Mrs. Timmerman and our pledges of allegiance.
Okay, would you guys pray with me? Lord, we thank you for this day. Thank you so much for this district, for all the teachers and staff that sacrifice so much to help our kids and help them with their education. Be with us tonight. Help us to make wise decisions, and just be with everybody throughout the remainder of this year. We ask all these things in your Son's name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay, next item on our agenda would be recognitions. That's you, Ms. Bridges?
Yes, sir. Good evening, board. We have 4 fantastic recognitions to do this evening. The first group I'd like to call up are our Cherokee Charmers. If y'all want to... Come stand up here in the front for me. So, board, I have 2 full pages of all of the accomplishments the Charmers have had this year. So I will not read them all, but I will read a few. On the national and international awards, 2 senior national Miss High Kick quarterfinalists, the Gussie Nell Davis Award of Excellence for the officers, medium team division officer hip hop champions, the elite team palm division champions, and the DFW championships, platinum best overall officers for technique, presentation, precision, and choreography, the gold best overall team for presentation, precision, and choreography, and the best in class elite team. At the Crowd Pleasers Showcase, the large category officer grand champions, elite team division grand champions. At the Winter Spectacular Awards, gold best overall for presentation, choreography, and precision. And also their director, Ms. Wilcox, where is she? Oh, there she is. Was named was given the Outstanding Director Award. So these ladies are Alexis Willis, Ariana Rodriguez Ortiz, Claire LaViolette, Eleanor Bearden, Emily Pena, Emma Moses, Haley Neely, Kamaria, is that right? Did I get it right? Okay, Anderson, Kaya Green, Michaela Williams, Najee Keith, did I get that one right? Yes, ma'am. Yay! Randy Spaniel, Summer Clark, Victoria Borders. Oh, I didn't ask you how to say this one. Help me. Thank you. Gonzalez, I'm sorry, I didn't ask Ms. Wilcox about that one. And Macy Pelt. So y'all give these ladies a round of applause. The Charmer parents leave, and then there will be room for everyone to sit down. And board, the next group I'd like to call up is the OG squad, the Original Gentlemen of Coleman. So this group is an all-male guidance group that consists of members from 6th to 8th grade. They met weekly all year and had male role model guest speakers from the community. They have gone on field trips and hosted educational events. They practiced physical skills such as with communication and etiquette. And they discussed and practiced strategies to help with their areas of struggle and plan for their future by exploring their interests, future educational options, and potential career choices. There are 4 awesome WISD staff members who give their time to lead this group. That's Ryan Essel, Mandy Carter, Officer Jonathan Rager, and Officer Tim Oldfield. And we have just I think Ms. Essel said there are 30 of them in total, so we've got just a small number of them, but I want to read their names real quick. Darius Carrington, Michael Esparza, Timothy Garrett, Preston Hernandez, Tristan Johnson, Xavier Manhard, Amari Moore, Fabian Portillo, Luis Salinas, Dalen Singleton, Blake Aubrey, Javian Cherry, Misaye Dunas, Jericho Hoggard, Nate Jones, Manny Nazario, Spencer Noble, Zachary Noonkester, Zachary Pirro, Jose Rivera Jr., Rowdy Sellers, Dylan Terrell, Quentin Williams, Benjamin Zavala, Amari Levine, Juan Roca, Eli Wheaton, Jashawn Wofford, and Justin Venisat. Great job, guys. All right, board. Next, we are so excited to honor a very special woman this evening who does so much to give back to our community through her work with Special Olympics. Is Miss June Flowers here? Hi, Miss Flowers. June Flowers has been working with Special Olympics with Waxahachie ISD for nearly 21 years and has worked with Special Olympics in some capacity for nearly 33 years. She is a head of delegation and a head coach, and she coaches bowling, basketball, and track and field. She has athletes in elementary school all the way through our 18-plus program, and she also coaches 8 Waxahachie High School graduates that still come back to participate. 10 years ago, then Waxahachie High School Principal David Nix declared April 23rd as June Flowers Day to honor Ms. Flowers for her hard work, and she has also received the Heart of a Warrior Award for the district. We are so proud to count Ms. Flowers as a member of the Waxahachie ISD family, and please join me in recognizing her for this hard work with Special Olympics. All right, finally this evening, board, we would like to recognize more of our campus warriors. As you know, our partners at the Waxahachie Police Department regularly send an undercover officer to our campuses unannounced to try to obtain access to the campus. Our campus warriors are those staff members who keep the officer from entering the campus or who intercept them after they've entered the campus. So tonight we would like to honor the following employees who were commended by the Waxahachie Police Department. Derek Zant at Findlay Junior High. Lance Bray at Coleman Junior High. Rich Armstrong at Waxahachie High School. Trey Graves at Global High School. And Teresa Burkhalter, who is representing the entire staff of Shackelford Elementary. The officer's report from Shackelford said that it was so tightly locked down they didn't even try to get in. So we're so proud of these employees for working so hard to keep kids safe. Thank you so much, board.
Okay, next item on our agenda is the open forum and hearing from individuals or committees. I believe we have 4 individuals signed to speak tonight. As I call your name, please step forward to the microphone, state your name and your address for the record, please. Melina Zavala? Ms. Zavala, I'll let you know you have 5 minutes to speak. When you get to about the 4-minute mark, I will give you notice. Also, I'll remind you that none of the board members can respond to any questions, okay?
Thank you.
It's all yours.
My name is Melina Sawala. I live at 104 Almond Street. I'm a senior at Waxahachie High School. And I wasn't going to talk until I saw that on the agenda we were going to talk about dual language. And I am actually one of the bilingual students a few years ago. I started as a pre-Ker and actually ended the program in 3rd grade. I transferred to Northside as a regular student by 4th grade, and it was difficult. The program I love for giving me part of my culture in this world where my mom could take part of my education, be able to help me, and it was an amazing time in my life, but it wasn't until I was able to go and see what normal students had I realized at a disadvantage I was. I was never able to solidify both my English and Spanish language. I struggled a lot throughout my life. Luckily, I was the exception, but not the rule of this program. Many of my peers struggle with English and just spelling because we never were really taught how to spell and we were never really taught how to read. I just remember taking a test and being told that I knew enough English, mostly from watching PBS Kids, honestly. And I am proud to be representative of my community, and I'm proud to see where the dual language program is actually going because I'm going to graduate. They're barely starting their education. I really want to come back and see more Hispanic students, more Spanish-speaking students in the position where I am. I am currently one of the top students at the high school. I am around ranked 27 out of like 500. I have tested incredibly well in Spanish, getting a 5 in Spanish 4 and a 3 in Spanish 5, but it was hard work, and it was mostly from my part that I had to develop these skills and be successful. And I'm really proud of what this district is doing for the future, and I really want to see progress whenever I look back 10 years from now. I don't want another little kid to go through what I went through. I want them to have the support to continue their education, to go into higher level education. Luckily, I'm going to be attending UT this fall, but I'm one of the only Hispanics from the school to do so. It is an incredible disservice to such an amazing, wonderful community that has so much potential, and I feel like I want to be a voice from it because I actually went through the process from a very young age to now, and I'm about to graduate. And another thing that I saw was school dress code. I was part of this year's test year, as you can say, and I appreciated it. As a senior, I am incredibly busy. I mostly live at the high school, going very early from 7 to staying sometimes until 7 p.m. I like the flexibility that I was able to, what I could wear, what I could do, but I do understand that this is because I come from a position of being a responsible upperclassman, and this freedom cannot be applied to underclassmen who need a little bit more discipline. But I do want to call into question that upperclassmen really do know how to take care of themselves. They behave relatively well, and it's been established and been known throughout the campus that they're not really the ones that cause the problems. It's mostly the underclassmen who need more of that discipline, that most close connection, having those rules set in place. But as you grow older, you really need that freedom to be able to do what you need to do. I am incredibly busy. I need that movement to just be able to be successful. And I understand if that cannot be applied to all students, but it's really something to be taken into consideration moving forward, because fashion changes frequently. It may not be determined as modest as I heard say in the boardroom, but I've mostly gotten away with wearing leggings for about 95% of my high school career, and not once has somebody gave me a disrespectful comment, looked at me disrespectfully. Some of them didn't even notice that I was wearing leggings. They're like, "You're not out of dress code," and I'm like, "No, yes I am." And I'm kind of scared that I got caught, but I didn't have anything else to wear, or
You have 1 minute.
Oh, thank you. And it really wasn't a problem. It really isn't. At the campus, I've never heard a single one of my friends be made a rude remark. I've never heard them be disrespected by another classmate. I've talked to some of my male classmates, and they're like, I frankly do not, like, they don't care. They don't notice these sort of things. And it's not unmodest or unprofessional or indecent. It's just modern times and how we express ourselves to be successful and comfortable. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Amy Carpenter. Chief, please state your name and address for the record, please. I will let you have 5 minutes to speak. I will let you know when you have 1 minute left, and I'll just remind you that trustees cannot respond to any questions or comments.
Thank you. My name is Amy Carpenter. I live at 1071 Waterford Drive. I'm a teacher at the high school. I'm a community member, and I have 4 children that go to Waxahachie ISD schools. I wanted to say thank you so much, the board, for their commitment to quality pre-K program at Turner. They have an amazing principal, Ms. Stephanie Foster, who's had great leadership all year. And I'm just amazed at all the things my kids come home telling me. But also I want to say thank you for allowing a buy-in program for district employees, because my children wouldn't have had this opportunity without y'all allowing that. But every day they're doing hands-on activities. They have people come in from all over the community. And the last 2 months, they've had transportation day. They've had parent PE. They've had the creature teacher come out. They had a butterfly release. They had a spring egg hunt. They had dual language family night. They had the sheriff's department come out with a safety pup. It's 2 months, that's it. You know, it's all the time. They have these great things for the kids to see and do and touch and feel. And it's every day in the classroom, and every day they're coming home with something new that they've learned. So I want to say thank you so much for that. I also want to say thank you for hiring Miss Sandra Rostetter, who's the after-school person, because the pre-K closes at, I believe, 3 o'clock, but at district employees, you know, we need someone to watch our kids while we're still in school. And I really kind of didn't expect a whole lot, you know, going into this. I was like, feed them a snack, let them play, take a nap, you know. But she's created a whole curriculum for the students. And she did it on her own. She even created a song for all of the states that ratified the Constitution. And my 4-year-olds come home singing about the states that ratified the Constitution. She can list them all out for you. So both of them can, actually. So I just want to say thank you so much for having Turner together and having a wonderful principal there and having a wonderful after school program. And I think that's about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. Up next, we have Hannah Whitlock. Remind you, please state your name and address for the record, please. I will notify you when you have 1 minute remaining to speak, and I will remind you that trustees cannot respond or answer any questions. Thank you.
My name is Hannah Whitlock. I live at 129 Spring Grove Drive. I am a student at Waxahachie High School. I'm in 11th grade. I'd like to start off. I'd like to speak on behalf of Waxahachie students who are currently being affected negatively by the mistakes of the school board. I understand enforcing rules such as wearing IDs, dress code, and tardiness, but it doesn't make up for ongoing issues and disorganization of the school board. Taking action just at the remaining 2 weeks of the school year is inappropriate while many of the problems have been in existence for years. While I believe that this case should excuse our principal, our ex-principal, Mr. Casas. If the goal is to make a safe place for the students, taking people who have done nothing but supported us and taught us kindness and respect, it doesn't put us in a better situation. He's made our school a comfortable place for our students to come, where plenty of students come and they're terrified to walk through the doors, but I think Mr. Casas has made it a place where they feel loved and they feel cared for, which is the goal. I believe that we should feel comfortable in our school. We shouldn't feel like it's a prison. We shouldn't feel put down and just, like, rules are in order for safety, yes, but it goes beyond that. When you take it to the last 2 weeks of school and if attendance is an issue and we're all half an hour late to class because the hallways are stopped up with everybody being yelled at and stopped in the hall. I was 1 minute late to class and I was told to turn around because I could not get through the hallway, but I am in dress code and I have my ID on. But I cannot get through the hallways to get to class because they're so stopped up, because the rules have not been enforced for the past years. Because nobody thinks they're going to come into school and be told to put on their ID badge, to be told to be wearing something differently. So when I'm 1 minute late to class, told to turn around, there's a line of 200, 300 students in the hallway trying to get a tardy pass. That's not affecting our education positively. I'm missing all my class, which I have makeup work for. I have to get to class and do my work, not stand in line for a tardy pass. So with all these things said, I think it's just unorganized, and I believe our students have more to offer. So thank you.
Could I correct one thing, please? It was
ma'am.
not the school board who made the decision to do that.
I understand.
It was me. And
Okay.
so, so all the things you can say about that would really go to me and not the board.
Okay.
Because that was a decision I made. But thank you for coming and speaking, and I respect everything you say.
Thank you.
Okay, Michelle Ray. Please state your name and address for the record, please. I will remind you when you have 1 minute remaining.
My name is Michelle Ray. I live at 2206 Leon Court, Midlothian. So, John and I have our kids in this district because we love this district. It's where they started and it's where they'll finish. And it is with the utmost respect that I speak to each of you. You're, for the most part, elected officials, and I know what that means. And I just couldn't not say anything about the high school. That fabulous new facility. We've had a great year. I have a freshman and a senior. We're going to watch my daughter walk across the stage on May 31st. And we've been completely thrilled with the way this year has gone at the high school. Both kids have had a great experience. And I realize that I'm here speaking, I'm at a disadvantage because I don't have a lot of information. But what information I do have is personal knowledge of Mr. Adon Casas. I was with him for 3 years at Findlay with Patrick, and he turned that school around. And it went from a place where people who had any way of getting out of going to Findlay did to a place people wanted to go. And I don't think that happens by accident. I think he's a great leader. I think he's a great man. I think he cares about the kids. And, this year, to say it brought changes to the high school is a massive understatement. New school, integrating 9 through 12 back in together. New principal, and that, I know that exchange wasn't real pretty either. And I think, everybody had a lot of opinions, and I'm just not sure everybody was on the same team, and I'm not sure the support was there for him, and I'm not sure we were fair to him. So that part is my opinion. But I just couldn't not say how much John and I both think of him, and how much we both respect him, and how valuable we feel like he is as an educator. And, you know, as a team, you know, you have to work together as a staff, as a board, and our new superintendent and new school board members, which, you know, so happy to see this group here. And I think we're doing great things, and we want to keep doing great things. So I would just encourage you, it was nice to hear Hannah get up and speak, and you'd have quite a few more kids here if they weren't handing over the reins of student government tonight to all the new incoming officers. But let's listen to the kids. Let's hear what they have to say. And maybe they can follow the rules the way we need them to follow the rules without them being quite so strict. So I appreciate your time. I appreciate everything each of you do, whether elected or appointed or what have you, and look forward to graduation. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, item number 4, we have a public hearing, amendment to Waxahachie ISD's District Improvement Plan. At this time, I will open the public hearing. After Ms. Blaylock's presentation, if there's anyone in the audience that would like to speak, you will have the ability to do so. Go ahead, Ms. Blaylock.
Did anyone leave your phone up here at the front?
I think we said, oh, here we go.
Thank you, Board, and thank you, Mr. President, for opening up a public hearing that we have put in place in order to address a concern brought to our administrative team that needs to be, oh, sorry. Hey, Mr. Robinson, can you click back over to your device?
Preview of
Yes.
upcoming events.
Let me let Mr. Robinson get caught up with me. Oh. I can get it right here. Sorry, I didn't see it there. I see it. You can click back over here if you just want to do it.
Let's consent.
Oh, here we go. Did I miss it?
Sorry. Okay, I am coming forward tonight to ask for an amendment to our Waxahachie ISD District of Innovation Plan. This plan was first put in place on March 20th of 2017, according to all requirements of state law, in order for us to have some flexibilities. For those that are not aware of what a District of Innovation classification provides to us, it gives us as a district the opportunity to flex some laws that are required of school districts. There was a specific set of rules and guidelines that you were allowed as a district to review and determine that by removing that requirement of your district, you could do something more innovative or to better serve your students. At the time that we did this, the district put into place multiple, probably more than 5 areas that we wanted to flex. Tonight, we are coming back to the board and to our community to request an amendment to add an additional item to this term of our district improvement plan. I would like to preface by saying that by asking for this amendment, in no way has our district reduced our expectations for what we expect of our students in the classroom or in the form of attendance. That was critical to our original District of Innovation team as we talked about this. But considering a current situation that has occurred, we feel it is most important for us to discuss this currently in an effort to protect our students in the class of 2019 and 2020. amendment of the area of minimum attendance for class credit and final credit, which is also referred to as the 90% rule, which is Texas Education Code 25.092 and also in board policy as FEC local. This law states that a student at any grade level from kindergarten through grade 12 may not be given credit or final grade for a class unless the student is in attendance for at least 90% of the days that the class is offered. A district of innovation may replace the 90% attendance rule with a more localized standard for issuing class credit or final grade. Attendance in each class is critical to ensure that students master the standards of instruction to the level required by the state. And in no way does this release us from compulsory attendance requirements and state laws. Our school district, under the guidance of the Texas Education Agency, is requesting an exemption to the current requirement for students to meet 90% attendance rule. This flexibility is critical to the success of our high school students in the classes of 2019 and 2020. We are only requesting this exemption for those two classes. This flexibility is critical for us to be able to give our students the very best opportunity to graduate. We called back together our existing District of Innovation Committee. That is a subcommittee of our District Improvement Committee. We met this afternoon and discussed the situation and the implications for our students in the class of 2019, most specifically graduating just on the heels in just a couple of weeks. That this is necessary. It was a unanimous vote of our committee that this is critical for us to ensure that those students are on their track to whatever is their next step, whether that's college, career, or military. We want to make sure that we are able to give them that graduation opportunity. This amendment, should you as a school board choose to move forward with this, normally does follow a 30-day timeline. The Texas Education Agency, under the guidance of the Associate Commissioner, has released us from that 30-day requirement so that we are able to do this prior to our students graduating so that we can ensure that they have the very best opportunity and that we can get them graduated as they have prepared and planned to do. At this time, I can answer any questions, and we do need to open this up for discussion.
Any questions for Ms. Blaylock on the board? Okay, I'll remind the audience this is a public hearing. If there's anyone that would like to step forward and speak, please do so at this time. Okay, seeing none, I will close the public hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, item 5 in the reports will be data overview. Ms. Hilburn?
This is,
Welcome
Ms.
to the
Hilburn.
spotlight, Ms. Hilburn.
This is Ms. Hilburn's maiden voyage, my debut
Which one are you doing?
as testing,
Okay, you
testing director.
You ready to grab? You okay?
She's a master in analyzing data, and thank you so much.
Good deal.
It's like the ink is still well in the nose, and you've already got that.
Well, I'm trying to aim to please, so thank you, Dr. Kane. Good evening, board. These are exciting and busy times for us right now as we're in full swing and testing mode. Actually, I think we're in round 3, so a lot going on. I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to present to you tonight grade 5 and 8 reading and math. And also extend an opportunity that if you have any questions at the end, that I'd be glad to answer those for you. I wanted to start it off by giving you some dates. A lot of information here along with the data, but we've already gone through kind of round 3, so we're already getting results back, which is what this is. But last week we did end of course exams at the high school. So an important date for those scores is going to be the last day of school, which is May 29th. Why is that important? Well, we want to see those results and all the hard work that the teachers and curriculum have been doing. But I know we also have 2 seniors that we have to look at that need 2 more, or actually 1 more exam to qualify for Senate Bill 463, otherwise known as Senate Bill 149. So kids have to pass at least 3 of the 5 EOCs to have an opportunity to graduate. So again, we have 2 of those kiddos that we're going to be paying close attention to when those results come back. Grade 5 and 8, these are our second round. We started today with 5 and 8 math. Tomorrow we will do 5 and 8 reading. Those results will come back on June the 4th. That's important because Ms. Robinson's been working hard to get remediation together for those kiddos that might not meet the passing standard for this second round. And that actually starts June the 10th and goes almost through all of June. And then the last one, grade 3 through 8 is going on right now this week, and those results will come back on June the 11th. So a lot of dates coming up and a lot of things going on. This is a 3-year comparison data chart from 2019 to 2017, and I kind of want to go over some key things here. And if you look at the top, or I actually sent this to you in the board bullet points, it's the approaches, meets, and masters. So I'm kind of going to give you accountability one-on-one here. What does that all mean? Because I know you look at it and go, I have no idea what that means. Did they pass or did they not pass? Approaches means that the kid passed. They pass at a minimum standard, but what it also says is those kiddos are probably going to need some interventions and some pullouts and some remediation to be successful at the next grade or the next course. Meets is the next highest, so these kids are probably going to be successful, and they may just need some target pullouts here and there. And then our masters is our top tier kiddos that are just rocking the test. They're doing fabulous on it. Well, where does this all mean? You see on the side there under the 2019 data, I put 90, 60, 30. Well, we're in accountability world right now, and if you remember, this year, just the school district got a letter grade. Well, this year, every campus gets a letter grade. So this is important because this is domain 1 of 3 domains, and this is student achievement. If we want an A, we want our kids to hit 90, 60, and 30. That would get us an A. Now, just remember, this is in this domain. So I want to look at grade 5 math. Grade 5 math is already there. They hit 89, 61, and 41, so they're well on their way. The good news is, though, is grade 5 reading and grade 8 reading and math are not far behind. If you look across the board on the 2019 data, they're 83, 84, and 84 respectively. So we're almost there, and we're only round 1. We have another round of, actually 2 more rounds of testing going on. Then if you look at the meets, we should be looking at 60%. Well, we're at 57, and I'm skipping over grade 5 math, 59 and 56. We're almost there. And then masters, grade 5 reading is there at 30%. Of course, grade 5 rocked it at 41%. Grade 8 reading is almost there at 28, and then grade 8 math, we still have a little work to do, but I also want to tell you that about 180 kids took Algebra 1. So you're taking some of your top tier kids out of that group that took Algebra 1 that would typically be that master's group. We always want to look at growth. So I know the question you're asking, are we doing better? We are doing better. If you compare 2017 data to right now, you know, I just talked to you about the performance standards, the approach, meets, and masters. We did better in 11 of the 12 performance levels across the board, grade 5 and grade 8 math and reading. So we're making big strides. The only one that we still need to work on is that math a little bit, but like I said, we're kind of behind the 8 ball a little bit because we have so many kids that are doing Algebra 1. So the next slide I want to go over, we had a lot of campus celebrations, but I want to go over some district celebrations. And so kind of break things down a little bit. Master's level, grade 5 math, and again, grade 5 math rocked it. From 2017 until now, they increased a total of 14%, and from that last year to this year, they've increased 6%. Master's level increased in grade 8 reading with the 3% gain. And understand that's probably one of the hardest to get, not only to get, but to keep your kiddos there. And that's sometimes the struggle. Grade 8 math showed, and so out of the 2 and 3 performance levels, the approach and the meets, they gained from last year. So improvement. More improvement. This is what I just referred to you. Grade 5 and 8 math and reading, 11 of the 12 performance levels we have increased since 2017. And then the last one I wanted to share with you is in grade 8 reading, they showed growth in all 3 performance levels. So approach, meets, and masters. And the biggest was this year, the meets. They increased 12%. So that's a lot to do in just 1 year. So where does this take us from here? Well, we already, like I said, started round 2 for grade 5, 8 math and reading. So that started today for math. Tomorrow will be the reading. So what does this mean? Student Success Initiative that says that every student grade 5 and 8 has to pass math and reading to go to the next grade. They get 3 opportunities to do that. And within all those, curriculum team is working extremely hard to help those kiddos out, get some extra remediation. Campuses are working hard. Principals are working hard to get our kids where they need to get. Remember, we get those results back on June the 4th. If we still have some kiddos that are maybe haven't met that approach yet, then we'll have round 3 the end of June. And again, they'll have an opportunity for remediation from June 10th all the way up until the 3rd administration. So I know that was kind of quick, a lot of data. And if you have any questions at this time, I'd be more than happy to answer those.
Ms. Hilburn, I just had one question. It's why are the numbers different in the 5th grade reading and math? Is it ARDS, or the students ARDed out of reading and not math?
As far as percentages are concerned?
As far as the actual number of students tested, or I'm sorry, I'm looking at it wrong. I'm sorry, I apologize.
You're good. Anybody else have any questions?
Question, Ms. Hilburn? Anyone? Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Item B would be money matters. Mr. Calden?
All right, good evening, board. You remember back in March, we talked about debt to our little heart's content. So you got April off and back in May. And after today, you may want the rest of the year off. But today we're going to talk about, the account coding structure. And the reason I think it's important is because not only as we were going through the debt, did some of those terms kind of appear some glossy responses. So it seemed like we really should tackle that a little bit, but also as we go into the budget, it's going to really help you and I have great interactions about the budget and our priorities and how we're going to accomplish those things if we're all on the same page about what we're talking about with the account coding structure. So with that, the account coding structure that we use is a 20-digit number. It's put in place by TEA. We don't have any control over it. The real key components that you want to know are fund, function, and object. Everything else past that is just really extra words to a sentence that kind of, the dog ran. Well, if you want to know how fast and where and all that, or what kind of dog, that's what the rest of those sub-object through local coding tell you. If you just want to know what the dog was doing, that's your fund, function, and object. Within any governmental structure, there are 4 main account types. Every governmental entity has a general fund. It doesn't matter if it's the state, doesn't matter if it's a local water supply district. Every governmental entity has a general fund. Every other type of fund is optional for a governmental entity. You would be hard pressed to find some that did not have any of these other types of funds, but they are strictly optional. Special revenue fund for us would be essentially federal grants, any other special money that we get that we're required to account for separately. Those will go into a special revenue fund. Capital project fund, anytime we issue a bond and or have a major capital project ongoing activity, those funds would be put in a capital project fund. Debt service fund, as long as we have outstanding debt, we will have a debt service fund. The only thing a debt service fund can be used for is servicing that outstanding debt. So there is no other function of the debt service fund. If at some point Waxahachie ISD has no outstanding debt, that fund goes away. Facts about the general fund. We have 3 main sources of revenue. We have local revenues, state revenues, and federal revenues. And in a district where we are located, federal revenues are going to be the smallest portion of the budget. If you were to go to East Texas, where you have federal forest lands and you have some other federal lands to which the district does not levy property taxes on, you will have some districts out there where federal revenues make up about 80% of their budget. And so it's going to be different for the 1,020 districts in the state. But every district's going to have local revenue, state revenue, and could have some share of federal revenue. Local revenues for us generally are property taxes. There could be other charges for services, athletic events, other fee-based services that are offered, and then investment earnings. Those are the big 3. State revenues generally for every school district in the state, it's all going to be based off student attendance. And that goes through that PEIM system, the Public Education Information Management System. And then we have federal revenues from our SHARS program. Wanted to give you a general review of our tax rate trend. The increase you see in fiscal year 16 was the passage of the $125 million bond for the high school, the 12.5 cents that we promised voters. The green box is your M&O. Now that's your general fund that we were just talking about a minute ago, the local source revenue of property taxes, and the blue box is the interest and sinking fund, also the debt service fund. The reason these are broken down is taxpayers will see that 155.39 on their tax statement. They don't see the breakdown of the $1.17 and the 38.39. But when we are talking about various things for the budget, those are the two numbers we're looking at, is the $1.17 and the $38.39, because they're different monies into different funds. Taxpayers on the other end will receive that statement with the $55.39. So just as you're seeing things from both sides, when you get that tax statement, you're not going to see $1.17 anywhere, and you're not going to see $38.39 anywhere. You'll see the $55.39. Fund balance. Fund balance is one of the main financial metrics that a school district looks at to determine financial health. You can most closely associate it with your personal savings account. So it's going to be the accumulation of any unspent funds from previous years. So all the way back to the very beginning of Waxahachie ISD or any predecessor up till today, fund balance is any funds that we've received that we have not spent. Generally, it's a display of financial health to be one of the main things that the external financial auditor will tell you about when they're here. It's also one of the main things that the state of Texas looks at when we're going through the first rating. And so it's best to use, and this is my opinion, it's not going to be a factual statement here, best to use your fund balance on one-time expenditures. If you're dipping into fund balance to make a budget with recurring expenditures like payroll, that's not a real good sign of financial health. But if you need to dip into fund balance to construct an agri-science facility, that's absolutely what it's there for. And so that's a good mark of financial health on a district. One thing for the first report for the fiscal year 2020, there are going to be additional indicators to address the uses of fund balance. So as we go further, hopefully by number 5 of these, we will have an update for you on the first metrics and how those are changing. And then we'll talk a little bit more about it at that point. Just wanted to let you know that's on the horizon though for the state. Special revenue funds. State has a very specific guidebook. It's the Financial Accounting System Resource Guide. And it's over 800 and something pages. So I've condensed it down to 3 bullets for you. Special revenue funds that are funded by a federal program are anywhere from 200 to 379 is the fund code. So the first 3 numbers will be anywhere between 200 and 379. State-funded special revenue programs are going to be 380 to 459, and then 460 and above are things that could have gone into the general fund as part of a local revenue source, but we chose to put them into a special revenue fund to better track them and account for the ins and outs of those programs. Debt service fund. It is supported only by the interest and sinking fund tax rate. And again, it is not required to have an interest and sinking fund. If you do not have any outstanding debt, you don't have an interest and sinking fund or a debt service fund. And the fund balance of a debt service fund stays in the debt service fund. We don't get to recharacterize it as general fund revenues. Those just get to stay there. And if we ever get to the scenario where we are paying off our last bond and do not anticipate any additional bonds, we will undersell the tax rate needed on the debt service fund that year, the interest and sinking tax rate, to where we don't have a fund balance left in this, because you don't want that money just sitting there without the ability to use it. Again, here's tax rate trend, just in case you wanted to see it again. I should have deleted that one. Facts about capital projects. So the main source of capital projects fund really is debt proceeds. You do have the ability to put local monies into a capital projects fund if you want. The only real benefit to that is it helps you better track those expenditures. But again, with a 20-digit account code, we can design the account coding structure to where we can track those out of the general fund just as easily. And then, let's see, you can have numerous capital projects funds at the same time. So right now we still have a little bit of money left in the $125 million bond, which was in Fund 625. We also have the bond funds for Max Simpson Elementary in Fund 626. So you'll see those on your reports next to each other. Functions. So the first 3 numbers of the account code are your fund. The next 2 are your functions. These generally are providing some description as to what you are expending and why. There's 25 functions that are recognized by the state. These are really, what is that, the 7 most common or 8 most common functions that are going to go within the budget. So general idea, when we're talking about a 19911, you're talking about general fund instruction-related expenditures. Object code, the next 4 are going to be your object code. Generally, a 6,100 is going to be a payroll account, a 6,200 is a contracted service, a 63 is supplies, a 6,400 is something else, a 6,500 is debt service, and 6,600 will be capital outlays. And with amazing great speed, we have reached the end of account code structure and the glazed returns. Going forward, we will probably talk about state funding and the state funding mechanisms after the state approves the budget. So be on the lookout for that one. It may be in June, unless they go to a special session, then you may get it in July. That's all I had for you.
Any questions for Mr. Calden?
No, so the audience knows the context. He's given us Finance 101 lessons, I think, at each board meeting or a snippet of different areas of his job, so we'll better understand how your money is spent. So that's kind of the context in which he presented what he did.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you all.
Okay, item C, first review of our annual investment report with action to approve, modify at our June meeting. That's
All
you
right,
again,
as
Mr.
part
Calden.
of the Public Funds Investment Act, annually, you will get a copy of our annual investment report along with all of the board policies, local and legal, that particularly relate to the Public Funds Investment Act. We do give you a copy of our investment report every month. We're required to give it to you at least quarterly, but we go ahead and give it every month because there's really nothing to hide with it. As you will see in the legal and locals, with regards to our strategies, we're not recommending any changes in our strategies as we go forth. We have seen interest rates rise, which is a good thing for us. We have not seen them rise to a level that we feel that we need to be super aggressive with it. We're not out chasing T-bills. We're not out chasing 3 or 5 year maturities on CDs because there is a little bit of uncertainty, but the general expectation is that rates are going to keep climbing as we go forward. So we're not really out there trying to chase those funds at this point. We'll point you to our annual investment report, and we did outpace the 91-day T-bill average for the year. You will see a couple of CDs on, I'm guessing that is page 137 of your book. We did have a couple of CDs as we were going through and doing some of the $125 million in bonds, put some CDs into a CD sharing or CDARS program. You put those monies into a financial institution that sends them out to other FDIC insured entities at a rate less than $250,000, so that's all covered by FDIC, and you get a little bit better rates. It does kind of show you where we were 2 years ago, as some of those rates were 0.7%, and where we were a year ago when we got CDs in that program, where they were 2.3%. So at the time, 0.7 was great. Now, 0.7 is pretty terrible. So one thing that we've learned is at that point, it was good to go and get that maturity. But I think if we had to do it again, we probably wouldn't tie it up for 2 years because you can see the almost tripling of that rate in the last 3 years. So we're really, as a strategy, we're meeting our cash flow, but long-term, we're not locking things up more than really about 1 year. So that's kind of where we are with our CD rates at this point. Again, this is for your review for the next month. We're not asking for any changes to the policy, and then we will review it again and ask for your approval of the strategy and the policies at the June meeting.
Any questions or discussion? Okay, thank you very much, Mr.
Thanks,
Calden.
sir.
Okay, board, next on our agenda is item 6, consent agenda. We have items A through K. We can take these items all in one motion, or if there's one or more than one you would like to remove for individual discussion, whatever the board pleases.
My concerns were answered in the workshop.
I'll entertain a motion. Go ahead.
I was wondering, I think there might have been a couple of things on here that we discussed.
Yeah, we got the new,
You talking about on the dress code?
Glance at it. Is that what you're expecting?
Well, I think maybe there was a couple of them, something
About the,
the piercing.
okay, did we change the piercings part?
I changed it to just the word of piercings. was there a request to change it for the nose area also?
I think she wanted to use the word septum.
The board does want that to be an allowable, no,
Not the
does not.
septum, but allow the nostrils hoop. You have a nostril stud, but she was wanting to allow the.
Small piercing or?
A small.
Well,
It
I
still
think the
says-
request, I think what the principals were saying was one small stud or a small hoop. I don't know, was that, is Mr. Lynch still here?
Where's Jessica? Okay.
Yes.
Tell us what we're talking about.
Yeah, tell us what we're talking about.
But to prohibit the septum hoop.
septum is.
You get to be in the spotlight again.
What would the wording be?
Okay, so the septum is right here in the center of your nose. So usually there's a ring that is there. But Mr. Lynch said that some of the girls like to wear like a small little hoop on the side of their nose where their nose piercing is. So if you put the word septum in there, it will differentiate between those two hoops. So that way you can prevent like the bull. They call it a bull.
But also, can we put numbers, because it's like if there's 25 of those, you know, I mean.
That sounds excessive.
A single piercing.
Yes,
on
a
the
single,
nose, limited to.
on the side of the nose,
side of
not
the
the septum.
Not the septum, okay.
Is that?
Okay, a single. Let's just split out. It would be a single piercing per nose, not per
Nostril.
Per nostril?
Well, no, probably per nose, because you don't want both on both sides.
One nostril, one piercing. One small piercing. Oh.
So Dr. Kane, just to
One
be
nostril,
sure,
one piercing.
on the second page under accessories, the first bullet prohibits, currently, we changed the word to piercings instead of earrings. Piercings defined specifically tongue rings, lip rings, eyebrow rings, ear gauges, spacers, facial jewelry such as hoops or rings, visible body piercings, or facial decorations. Students may, however, wear one small nose stud or
One small ring, nostril ring.
And then maybe.
Not in the
And
septum.
then in parentheses, not to include septum.
Piercings, right.
Yeah, a piercing could be stud, could be loop, but it's one nostril.
But then in parentheses, not to include, does not include a septum.
Does not,
Septum.
does not include a septum piercing, or not.
I appreciate it.
So our recommendation, if you approve the dress code on consent, that wording would be what, Ms. Blaylock, just to go over that?
So the last part of it would say, students may, however, wear one small nose stud or nostril ring not to be worn in the septum.
Perfect.
That's pretty
You still want to say small ring?
Yes, small.
Okay.
Emphasis on small.
Okay, can I take the board through the other changes just to make sure okay, so the first page, we did not have any changes from what was initially submitted. We did on the second page, let me find it now. We added, if I can find it. Okay, under accessories, the last bullet point, we expanded that to say headwear, hats, caps, bandanas, sweatbands, or other head coverings. Garments with hoods may not be worn with the hood over the head inside the perimeter of the building during the school day. So to ensure that courtyards were included. Or that also includes awnings outside the school. If you're here, we want you to have your hood off. And then on the second bullet point under grooming, hairstyles that are disruptive, for example, spiked mohawks not to exceed 2 inches in height. The word spiked needs to come out of that, it's redundant. Mohawks not to exceed 2 inches in height when spiked, designs that display inappropriate symbols or messages. Is that acceptable to the board?
Fine with me.
Okay.
What's the changes in there that you wanted? Okay.
As an elementary parent, I just thought if we say anywhere on properties or hoods, does that include our elementary kids from wearing their hoods when they go outside for recess?
the perimeter of the building, inside the perimeter.
Yeah, inside perimeter, yeah, we're talking about inside, like, inside the building, inside the courtyard. Not on the, yeah. No, thank you, sir, clarify. Is that it, Ms. Blaylock?
Yes, sir.
So that would be our correction to that, Mr. President.
Everyone okay with the corrections as they were presented? Okay, at this time, I'll entertain a motion for the consent agenda items A through K.
I move that we accept the consent item A through K.
You're a doodler.
Motion by Mr. Schofield, is there a second? Second by Ms. Timmerman. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries 7-0. Can we get Mr. Morgan to model the nose ring for us?
And the mohawk.
He seems
okay?
he seems to be pretty knowledgeable
He
about
is
the nose ring.
very much an expert.
I think
Okay, next item on our agenda is item 7, would be consideration of possible action to approve a resolution and cast votes for the Ellis County Appraisal District Board of Directors election.
Yes, sir. We unexpectedly had someone resign, and we have someone that has been suggested, and so the board is free to suggest a different name if they would like, but we feel confident that the board could have confidence in the name we listed. His bio is attached.
When's the
And he
deadline?
is interesting.
We have to have it done by today. The deadline is before our next
The
meeting.
deadline is May 20th.
May when?
May 20th.
Yeah, and then before our next meeting.
You want to volunteer?
I'm a little disappointed that I don't think we had enough time to discuss that. I mean, that's the first time I've heard a name is tonight.
That's true.
Or when I got my board book. I mean, I don't have any problems with the selection.
It
None.
was recent that we got the name. It's-
I may be wrong in this, but I think we make our recommendation, and then I know the city of Waxahachie has already recommended a person.
Same person?
No, different person. I think the county recommended a different one than the city, so I don't know.
And so all that to say, if we want a different name, then there will be a vote. So this would be a nomination. Is there a name?
Just because
Like I
we present a
said,
name doesn't mean this person's going to be.
This is brand new to me. I mean, not the process, but just, it wasn't even on my radar to be thinking about really a name. I know Mr. Hamilton resigned, but I didn't know the deadline was as close as it is. I thought it would happen more like in October.
It will happen again in October.
Oh, okay.
This is a mid-year.
You can redo it in October.
Okay.
They just don't have anybody there.
And just because we nominate someone doesn't mean they're going to be chosen.
Or that we even vote for them whenever you see the final slate.
Like I said, I don't have a problem with the selection itself, just
The process.
Just the
It is
process.
very unusual. I have never had to replace someone for any reason, so.
I'm good with it.
Any other questions? Okay, at this time, I'll entertain a motion. Please state the individual's name, whoever makes the motion.
Yeah, Mr. President, I'll move that we use our votes in nominating Richard Rozier for the Ellis County Appraisal District Board.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion by Mr. McCutcheon, second by Ms. Kriegel. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries 7-0. Okay. Consideration and possible action to award contract from RFQ for external financial auditing services. Mr. Collin, back on the spotlight.
Thanks, sir. Back last summer, the board made it clear that they would like for us to publish an RFQ and seek new external financial auditors. We did publish that RFQ at the conclusion of our most recent financial audit. We received 2 responses. One response was the current firm that's been doing our financial audit for quite a while, and then a second firm out of the Waco area. I come tonight asking for your guidance and direction as one of the firms, well, the firm out of the Waco area has a recent disciplinary action from the state. And so I come to you asking for guidance, not to be obstinate with it, and seek your input and approval on which way we go.
Well, and Mr. Calden, I had asked you, and if you would let the board know our conversation about if we could post at TASBO, we had discussed the different places to
ma'am.
post. If you could give your response.
Yes, ma'am. So Dr. Kane did suggest that we try posting it in different mediums. TASBO itself, it's the Texas Association of School Business Officials, does not accept outside solicitations for those types of engagements because it is strictly for in-district business officials. And then also looked into the Texas Association of Public Accountancy. It also does not have a website or a board in which you can post those solicitations. Upon talking with some of my colleagues last week at a business users meeting that we have here in Ellis County, I was informed, because I didn't even know this from public practice, but I was informed that there are services that audit firms will subscribe to that crawl the internet looking for these postings, and they not retweet, that's not the right term, but they essentially retweet it to all other members. I have no idea if any firms picked up on that. I have no idea if any of those services picked up on our posting and solicitation. All I can tell you is that we had 2 responses. We had a third firm that expressed interest via email and submitted some questions that we responded to, but they did not submit a response in terms of timely with the RFQ process.
So one possibility would be that the board would like for it to be reposted, and we contact these crawler people, web crawler people, and say, be a little bit more aggressive, and that might not do anything. That's the only thing we can see would be an option. Or we can also repost, because sometimes a business may have a lot of audits going on, and they go, well, I can't handle this now, but now some time has passed.
Well, I'll speak up. I think the board needs to first decide if our position is still the same on the audit before we go through jumping all these hoops to find a person to do the audit. Let's first decide if our position has changed or if it's still the same.
If I'm not mistaken, what was one number that was like $30,000, $35,000?
So the annual financial audit for Waxahachie ISD is about $34,000. Of the 2 firms that responded, one did not give a price because that was not requested as part of the RFQ process. RFQ is request for qualification, so we are strictly evaluating these firms based on their qualifications. The second firm, though, did give us a price, and they estimated about $44,000 for the engagement. That would be through the annual financial audit. In conversations with our current auditor, back when they had come up with the agreed upon procedures engagement where we were looking at just the bond funds for the last 3 years, they gave us a price of $2,500. So if we're looking for the bond fund engagement, you're looking somewhere from $2,500 to about $4,000.
That's from the same company?
Yes, sir.
I believe we're going to be going out for other audit firms. I mean, weren't we going to change after last year? Is
So
that
what
correct?
month do we go out for audit firms?
We published this in February and republished it in March.
No, you're usually, the typical WISD.
This would be the time of year.
No. Okay.
You want them, you typically want to get an audit firm signed up in about May or June because they come out and they start doing field work in July.
But
So
didn't
that'll be
we,
next month.
okay, but didn't we agree that we're going to, that we've used one firm several years and we're going?
Yes, ma'am.
I
and
believe that was discussion, yes.
Yes.
Houston, that could be, we could say, give us 2 prices, one just to be our auditor and one to be the auditor and do a side audit on this. With the understanding it couldn't be the original person because they've already been disqualified. Okay, I get it.
Ryan, what's your level of comfort that within the normal annual audit, that the components of the bond fund are going to be captured in that audit itself? I know it's not going to be specifically targeting the audit, but I'm sure there are a certain amount of transactions that will be included.
So, okay, the steps that auditors are going to go through, just part of basic requirements from the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, their rules, along with GASB rules, they're going to set a scope standard. So every disbursement that we issue for the entire year is going to be in one sample. They're also going to do a second test that's called individually significant items. So within those, you're looking at every check, just picking a number here at this point, 300,000 and above. That's going to be 100% of, they're going to test every single item over 100,000 or 300,000. The idea being that if something there was fraudulent or wrong, you expand your scope, but you've looked at things that board members would care about, that the community would care about, and it will let you know if there's a bigger systemic problem. In specific regards to your question, not 100% of the bond funds would have been tested in the individually significant items. Not all of them were over 300,000 or pick any other number. There would have been some items that would have been a couple of, tens of dollars, $50, $100. You would have had some items that would have ranged up to $2 million in checks. The significant items would have already been tested. The insignificant items, and I know that any dollar that was misspent in bond funds would be significant, but the otherwise insignificant items, the $5 check here or $10 check there, those items more than likely have not been tested at this point.
So putting you on the spot, what's your level of comfort with what we've already done in regards to auditing the bond funds?
I would tell you right now that I think about 70% of the bond funds have already been looked at over the last 3 years. Honestly, I think you might find a couple of things in there that you say, man, I wish we would have done that different. And I'll tell you right now, you'll find an invoice that we didn't pay within 30 days. And some of that's going to be because it hadn't rained in 30 days, and I didn't feel comfortable asking you to sign off on payment of a roofing contractor when we haven't tested to see if the roof is watertight yet. So you're going to find things like that, and that's honestly to be expected. I think that's us doing our due diligence and being prudent with it, and not just signing off on, a contractor's word that they've put up a good roof or that the air conditioner works without us testing it. But in all honesty, I think if you go through that item by item, there's not things that you're going to go through there and you're going to say, man, we really should have reclassified this, and it should have really gone into a different fund, or it should have been paid a different way.
Well, I'm comfortable explaining my position to the public if we were to be questioned about it, but, I'm one person. The board can discuss whether or not they want to proceed or not.
Mr. Calden, I wanted to be sure I understood. The bond fund specifically would only cost us between $2,400 to $4,000 an addendum
Yes,
to
ma'am.
to our regular audit?
Yes, ma'am. And the 4,000 is strictly a guess on my end.
Right, I understand.
But I think that would be a reasonable range based off the level of service that we were asking from them.
Right.
We're asking for you to look over a 3-year period at just these expenditures.
But that's with the existing provider.
The existing provider would be about 2,500. Some of that's going to be because they know they already know our procedures and policies and how we do things. So there's not a redevelopment, relearning, re-understanding of that. So with a new firm, I do believe you're going to get a little bit more. I don't think it's going to be egregious. I think you may be looking $4,000 to $5,000 with a new firm.
But we are going to be changing our existing provider, is that correct? Aren't we planning on it?
We've discussed it.
We've discussed-
made that decision.
Yeah, I understand, but it's coming up.
We need to tell Mr. Calden how we want to proceed. Anyone on this end?
I personally don't see how we can allocate between $34,000 and $44,000.
No, so, okay, just for clarity, the 34,000 to 44,000, that's for the annual financial audit. That's not just the bond funds. Just the bond funds would be 2,500 to 4,000.
But
Yes, sir.
nobody will do that by themselves, and
They're going to have to absorb the whole package.
They're going to be expecting an engagement at least of this fiscal year.
so if we were went on with this, we would be using the same auditor again for the next year with this little added task.
At this point, you're asking me to choose between an audit firm that has had disciplinary action in recent terms versus who we're using now, correct?
That is my quandary at this point.
Well, I can tell you my feelings. I'm not interested in anybody that has any disciplinary actions pending or recently
Yes, sir.
looking at our finances. We have an exemplary rating from the state. Maybe using the wrong verbiage, but ballpark is very good.
Yes,
We
sir.
may entertain looking at another provider to audit our books completely and totally.
And we could ask them to do
I'm
it.
not interested in change right now. I think we maybe need to look at that and see how to go forward.
If I recall correctly, last year we had the discussion that this year we would be moving to a new firm.
Yes, we did have that discussion.
Okay, so, I mean, that's my assumption that we're going to be changing, so with a fresh
So
set
is
of
it an
eyes
option,
looking at
once
it.
we choose a new firm, to have them give us a number on what it would cost to do this?
To do the bond fund engagement?
Correct.
Yes, sir.
That would be my suggestion, but I'm not making motions, so.
So we would
I
just do,
concur.
could this die because of lack of motion, Mr. Offenshine? If no one
Yeah,
makes a
we can take-
motion,
we can
there's
take
no action.
Yeah, we'll take no action.
Okay. With no action, is it the pleasure of the board for us to repost for the annual financial audit and seek any firm to do just the bond fund engagement?
But did you say it's about that time of year that we
Yes,
do
ma'am.
that? So we would go ahead and say, we would like everybody in the state to know we're going to have we'd like an audit firm, and that there would be two proposals. How much is for the audit and
Okay.
how much for the audit and the bond audit.
Okay.
And that way, if we did them the next year, we would know how much was the bond audit.
That is correct.
Okay. We will get
Yes.
posting it. Thank you all.
Thank you. Okay, next item on our agenda will be consideration of possible action to amend WISD's District Innovation Plan to include an exemption for TEC 25.092.
Yes, Mr. President, we're asking that Ms. Blaylock has met with the committee. We had a public hearing. There were no objections, so we're asking that the board approve this change. We could have
Trustees,
put it on
you heard Ms.
consent.
Blaylock's presentation earlier in our public hearing. At this time, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the amendment to Waxahachie ISD's District of Innovation Plan as presented in the public hearing.
Motion by Ms. Starnader, second by Mr. Schofield. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 7-0. Okay, item D, consideration of possible action to approve the purchase of a modest modular office building for administration from Schultz Housing and Moving.
Yes, we have a homeless lady here, Miss Monica James. and This is a personal item for her, and the board had actually approved this up to what amount of money?
Back in February, we
got the nod.
Not to exceed 70,000.
And how much, and so we're bringing this back to you for approval, so we could actually purchase it, and we actually have found one, so if you purchase it tonight, I think Mr. Morgan's going to be driving up there with the tractor to bring it down.
I think it's dependent on city council approval for the zoning.
I asked if we.
So tomorrow night, like we discussed earlier, Mr. Rogers, I meet with the DRC. They received my packet, sent it back for any kind of additional information. I sent it back up, been in correspondence with them, and they don't see an issue at all. It's just kind of the hoops or the flaming hoops might have to jump through. So I'll meet with them tomorrow evening at 7 with the DRC committee, and then city council approval next Monday.
And since we don't have another meeting, we would need to, the proper order actually would be to get those approvals and then come back here, but that would delay it another 2 weeks.
Can the motion include city council approval?
Yes.
Okay.
Do we need this building as well as the one Mr. Craig discussed?
The old Credit Union building.
Oh. Actually, I'm so focused on this. I'd like to, I thought y'all might want more information about that. You meant putting a building like this out there?
No, talking about, when he came by, I talked to him earlier in the week about from the workshop.
I don't know that I know about that.
Dr. Kane?
Bill Credit Union.
I can elaborate on it.
Maybe I'm the one that's.
He said 14 offices.
Right.
So,
Yeah, that's
So,
later. I think
yeah,
that's.
the building that Mr. Schofield's talking about is that Mr. Craig has looked into the future expansion of different facilities, even my department, other departments, and looking at that
Okay.
building as a possibility of opening up some more office space over there. It's, right now, he's got a guesstimation of about 100,000 just to repair the roof, and then we'll have some more work to be done.
Yeah, so that wasn't, that wasn't a portable building, that was to fix the building we have and divide it up and make use of existing space.
I'm just trying to make sure we're all on the same page.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
we're good. Oh, no, I love that idea, using the building we have.
Okay.
But sir, right now, we will come back with that, because Mr. Craig, I agree, will always steer us right. But our request tonight is for,
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the purchase of a modest modular office building for administration from Schultz House Moving pending city council approval.
correct, sir.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Rogers, second by Mr. Schofield. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 7-0. It is now 8:50. We will convene in closed session according to Texas Education Code, Section 551.001.
I haven't forgotten what you said.
5:50. We will reconvene back into open session. This time, the only item we have left on our agenda is our HR report. Mr. Avenshaw?
Thank you, Mr. Board President. At this time, we've got the personnel report, which includes our regular hirings, which we're doing quite a few hirings, as we're prone to do this time of year. We also have our new Executive Director of HR here, Monica James, who we are renting right now from College Station. So we're extremely happy to have her. She will be with us full-time the Tuesday following Memorial Day. So May 28th, she is ours full-time. College Station's not ready to let her go. So she is here out of the goodness of her heart today and tomorrow. But in regard to our new positions, she has had the opportunity to come in and interview and help select, and Ms. Blaylock and I worked with her. But one of our fantastic principals, elementary principals, she is robbing from Shackelford, but she is hiring Teresa Burkhalter to be her Associate Director of Human Resources. So we're excited to elevate Ms. Burkhalter and have her come over to our building and work with Mrs. James.
Well, if Shackelford didn't know then, they do now, don't they?
Faculty meeting.
As for some of our hires, I want to highlight one person who's not in the room but who's coming back to us is Allison Mendelson. She was in our PEMS department, and she's coming back to us and to be our PEMS director, and so we're excited to have her. But another person coming home, and she has been with us all night long, is Tanya Harris.
Miss Harris.
So, Ms. Harris, she's joining us as the lead assistant principal at Waxahachie High School for curriculum and instruction. I got to meet Ms. Harris just going to Lions Club. I wasn't even working for the district at the time, but she was speaking on behalf of High School of Choice, giving a presentation. I know Ms. Timmerman. She was a dedicated employee for Ms. Timmerman when Ms. Timmerman was principal over at High School of Choice. I met her then coming to the district as the assistant principal of 9th grade academy, so we're just ecstatic to have Ms. Harris rejoin us, and we've got a couple of assistant principals going to Coleman Junior High. We've got Lisa Minton and Blake Harrison, in addition to the other hires. We also ask you to just take notice, no specific approval of resignations and retirements, and then we ask you to approve some new positions tonight. I have noticed that there are some additional new positions that I meant to be included in your board report that have been circulated among administration and are ultimately approved by the superintendent for your recommendation, but we will be bringing some additional positions on May 24th that just, for whatever reason, by glitch, did not get into board report. But we do ask you to approve all of those positions tonight that are in board report, knowing that there will be, essentially there's 11 items left off that we'll be bringing you on May 24th.
Okay, at this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the HR report.
I make a motion to approve the HR report.
I'll second. Motion by Ms. Timmerman, second by Ms. Kriegel. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Get to come over to the dark side.
All right, last item of business, I'll need a motion to adjourn. Mr. McCutcheon, second by Mr. Starnader. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries 7-0.